You're listening to a DM podcast.
Welcome to Over the Back Fence. I'm Di Edwards.
I'm Nicola Dale, and we're buddies of nearly 4 decades. And yes, we actually do happen to share a back fence.
We do. We love parties, people, inspirational stories, and honestly, making the most out of life.
So join us as we open our hearts, share our stories, and hear from some of the most inspirational people in the world. And have a laugh along the way.
Yeah.
Enjoy. Dottie, how are we today?
I'm feeling on top of the world.
Well, I like to hear that, especially on a Monday.
Yeah, it is a bloody
You've been
Monday.
a bit of a busy beaver. I haven't seen you for a while,
it's been
actually.
really
'cause,
busy lately.
we record our potties and we do see
crazy.
a lot of each other, but I haven't seen you for a while. So what's been happening? Tell me, what's been happening
Maybe
in the life
relationships need a bit of a break.
I think so. But we don't get sick of one another, do we?
Never. It's crazy.
Well, what about we went to where I did see you? We went to a girlfriend's birthday dinner, which was quite funny at this little Japanese restaurant, and there was like 8 chickies, and there was a couple of couples sort of sitting romantically right next to us. One way to clear out a restaurant, bring us with our
And there
group
was
of
another
friends.
couple of behind us, and I actually went up to them and said, "Look, it's a really small restaurant. You might want to move." "Oh no, it's fine." Well, I turned around at one stage. There was nobody anywhere. Like they'd all
moved
gone.
out.
But you know what? What did we do? We laughed.
Yeah, well, you know
You
what?
know,
It's so
reconnected.
good connecting with friends and doing that. And you know what, Didi, I went and I love it with the community. In our community up in the Northern Beaches too, there was a really great photo exhibition up there. And it was like beyond the bends, and it was everyday icons of the Northern Beaches. And it was just wonderful celebrating everyday people and photos there and community. And I love that midweek,
Yeah.
you know.
Get
so it's
involved
just
in
get
your
involved,
community.
whether it's taking a photo or whatever, it's just great.
It is. It's, like we talk about it a lot on the podcast about loneliness.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? If you're sitting at home today feeling sad, feeling lonely, get out there. Google something local. Get involved.
And there's a lot of things that are free. That was actually just free in the community. And I just rocked. I was by myself.
Yep.
And rocked up by myself there. And I ended up,
Nicola, you're such a wallflower.
Instantly I got 50 new friends, but it was just a great thing. So
Yeah.
that was good.
And then I went babysitting. I went skiing down in
glamour.
Thredbo and went babysitting for 3 or 4 days. But I sort of passed the baby over and went, "I want to ski today." And they're like, what? It's about a bit of give and take, So it's been busy.
It's all a balance.
We're about to go away. We've got a lot going on.
We've got a lot going on, and you know what? It's springtime here. The sun's out, and things are getting hot. But I tell you what, things are getting hot in the studio because let me introduce. We have got all the way from California, and we're absolutely thrilled that you could be here. We have got America's Sexpert, Susan Bratton, and she's #1 love and intimacy expert coach to millions. She's a speaker who says that we can be happy, healthy and horny every day.
Love it.
Don't we love the sound?
I love it.
Love
HH, I remember
love
that.
the sound of that. She's a sexual biohacker. She's a podcaster. She's an author of 40 plus books. She's a regular on US TV shows, and we are absolutely thrilled that she's joining us at our back fence. So welcome, Susan, to the back fence.
Hello, beauties. It's so nice to see you. And I've actually been on Australian television too. I've been on the Today Show.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, a couple of times.
Oh,
I
wow.
loved it.
I've got to say, I've been on the Today Show a couple of times myself too. But I think you beat the cat. That's
Welcome.
awesome. Welcome. That's awesome.
You look like a Californian goddess sitting there right now, to be
do.
honest.
Big smile. And
There's so much to unpack today with you.
Yeah,
Nick and
let's
I were
do
just
it.
in the car driving in. It's like 50,000 questions. I think probably the best way to start is really about your journey into helping people enhance their intimate sexual relationships. How did that come about?
Well, I'm 63 as I talk to you now, and I'm having the best sex of my life. So there's that.
woohoo!
But it
That is
wasn't
so good to
always
hear.
so.
Tick, yeah.
I know.
Not dick, tick.
Well, or both.
We'll be talking about a few of those, won't we, though? I hope so.
Yes, so how did it all begin?
Well, when I was about 42, I'd been married for a dozen years, and I'd really been avoiding my husband for sex. It just wasn't great for me. And I'd never really had an orgasm from intercourse.
Never.
And
Never.
no, No,
And you were how old?
most-
42.
2.
That's remarkable.
Yeah.
I don't think
And
I don't
it's
think Susan's alone there.
No,
you
she's
know?
not.
Yeah.
But
No.
that's amazing.
very common.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I could have an orgasm with my little 1980s vibrator. I don't even know what that looked like, rabbit vibrator.
Wow.
But that's not what you want. You want to have passionate, orgasmic love making with your husband.
Mm-hmm.
And I just used every trick in the book to avoid him and focused on my career and raising our child, who's now 27 and wonderful. And he was very disappointed in me, and he had really emotionally checked out of the marriage because there was no physical intimacy for him. And we just were kind of living together in a platonic way. And we thought, we've got to do something about this. And we decided to do a couple of things. One, we decided to go to some sex workshops. 2, we decided to go to a marriage therapist. And the first marriage therapist we went to said, oh, well, this is just what happens. I mean, you can't expect it to be good, for over 12 years. And he walked out and he's like, we're never going back to her.
Yeah, good.
And we found a different therapist who had helped me she needed to help me with some traumas that I had that made it difficult for me to stay present and connected during sex. But it was really the sex workshops that did the trick. Once we started going to them and we started to learn how our bodies work, how to stay in connection, how to have pleasuring techniques, boy, our sex life took off. I started becoming orgasmic. I started having different kinds of orgasms. I started wanting him for sex again instead of avoiding him. And we basically saved our marriage and had such a renaissance because of this knowledge and these skills that we learned, that we said, we need to start a company and we need to put all this information online because not everyone can A, afford to go to San Francisco and go to sex workshops, or B, would they even dare? Because it was very edgy to do that. And we wanted to bring the workshops to people all over the world via the internet. Why can't we just make home study courses where we can teach these things? And we started that company 18 years ago, and we are still going strong. I write an email newsletter. My brand is Better Lover. And it was really interesting because 2 days ago, I went back through all of I write 30 hours a week. I spend writing my email newsletters. I do 5 of them a week. And each one has some kind of tip, technique, new idea. You're learning something in there. And I went back through this year, like the first 8 months of the year, and I looked at everything that I had written, and it all shuffled into about a dozen categories of knowledge, which I thought was very interesting. At a big perspective, the things that people need to learn to keep their sex life getting better, what I like to call getting on the upward pleasure spiral instead of swirling down the toilet, is bedroom communication skills, pleasuring techniques, and intimate wellness, basically. Because if your parts don't work, you ain't gonna get so far. And I looked at what I've been really talking about lately, because your latest work is usually your best work. It's the integration. I mean, now in my 60s, I feel like I'm getting into my wisdom era, where all of these things that I've been learning one by one, they're all stitching together and they're turning into ways that people can approach their sexuality. If they said, okay, I'm going to get on that upward pleasure spiral. I'm open to learning new things with my partner. I'm tired of the monotony of monogamy. I'd like to have better orgasms. I'd like to feel more confident about myself. I'd like to have more pleasure and connection. What do I need to know? And it was really what I ended up calling the desire dozen. The 12 areas of expertise.
Sorry, the desire what?
Dozen.
Not the dirty dozen.
Oh.
Like the dirty dozen. I called it the desire dozen.
I love that.
Okay, desire dozen. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I actually have them right here if you want me to tell you the kinds of things that if you're thinking, okay, how do I approach?
I tell you what, this is the longest you've kept me and Nicola quiet.
I know. Normally we'd be jumping in and telling stuff, but we are absolutely sort of
We're
like, whoa.
you've got us.
And also just
Hook,
sort of
line
saying
and
that,
sinker.
you know, so many of our listeners too, I'm guessing, have been in long-term marriages as well, or also then we'll talk a bit later too of ones who have hopped out of a long-term marriage and about to maybe hop into something new, or whether they will or whether they won't. We want to hear it from you. But no, please continue on, Susan.
Yeah, well, I really think that midlife and beyond is the time to put your sexual self-interests first and go out and have some incredible experiences together with your partner or with new partners. Yeah. And there is one technique I'd like to give the people who are starting over that's as valuable for them as it is for the people who are in long-term relationships.
Please.
But I'll save that for later.
Okay. It's on that too. I just think it's great that your husband wanted to go to these sex therapy sort of sessions, because I'm guessing a lot of men might sort of go, I'm not going to do that. I
think the opposite. That's what I love about us. I think most men would be like, let's do it.
Well, I think, I sort of think a lot of men will go, I know, I work perfectly.
But if their relationship's not perfect,
I guess that to get it going, they'll do anything,
open.
But still like to learn from someone else, you know.
But sorry, go ahead. Let's go with the 12. I'm so excited.
First one is communication skills, bedroom communication.
Love it.
Second is understanding your anatomy and the anatomy of your partner, because you can't have the kinds of orgasms you want to have if you don't understand how the systems work.
Fair enough.
And having the words for them and all kinds of things is very important. The third is interesting in that it's attachment, security, confidence, satisfaction. And that's really interesting because as women, we are prey and men are the predators, and we have a hard time feeling safe and cared for. We need to get out of our head and our fear that runs us and into our bodies to have really good sex. And so really being conscious that we have to be proactive about that is very important for ourselves and our partner to understand. And men, they get all up in their heads trying to be perfect because they don't like to make mistakes. And they think they know everything. And so they get performance anxiety. And so that whole piece is very important to acknowledge and work through. And then once you kind of get that behind you, it goes away.
Sure.
The next is understanding libido, desire, and arousal and how it's different between you and your partner, especially if you're, if you have a husband and you're a woman and he's a man. We have very different arousal cycles. We have very different approaches to our desire because we have different hormones. Another one is what I call sexual leadership. And that includes learning new things together, being open to trying new things. Because turn on and desire is a combination of the safety and security plus novelty and variety. If you have too much safety and security, it's boring. If you have too much novelty, it could be too edgy and scary and you kind of get spun out. So there's that balance that's very important. The next is what I call hot sex dates. And when I say sex dates, I don't just mean intercourse. Because a lot of people, when they think sex, they think intercourse. But what I try to do is I try to expand the pleasurable playing field for people. Because a lot of people give up sex because they can't have intercourse for one reason or another. And that goes back to the intimate wellness piece. If you're not well, if you don't feel well, intercourse is a big ask. But then they stop having any kind of intimacy. They stop touching each other. They don't want to start something. And then you get disconnected. You're not making oxytocin. You're not close anymore. So hot sex dates are one of my favorite things to write about because I describe in detail these incredibly sexy experiences. Well, let's see. One of the things
I'd like to
that
know
I recently
hot,
did.
sexy date.
Well,
I know. I think it's good because sometimes I think if it's like written down that you have to have sex, then I sort of think, well, I might want to have sex right there because it's written down. Kind of, I sort of want to flow into it naturally. So how does it work if it's sort of like scheduled in?
Date.
Can that sort of how do you make it
I think
good?
there's two things.
Yeah.
I think if you want to actually have love-making intercourse type of sex dates, then those really, I wouldn't schedule them.
No.
Because then there's pressure.
Yes.
Exactly.
Oh, now I have to have intercourse, and I don't really want to.
It's in the diary.
You're not in the mood.
Yeah.
You're not turned on yet.
Yes. Yeah.
He will do that, but you don't want to.
Yeah.
I do love the way you identify love-making versus sex. Because a lot of people just blur those lines.
That's right. But what I like to do is I like to schedule what I call erotic play dates.
Okay, so
An
tell us
erotic
one.
play
Yeah,
date-
what happens?
What do you do?
Yeah. So an erotic play date is, and I actually have a list of 48 erotic play dates. It's at sexlifebucketlist.com. It's a downloadable PDF with 48 erotic play dates, and I have a video
bucket list
where
of
I
sex.
walk you through it.
Of course, we're so time poor. Give
I
me an
love
example of one of those.
So what I'm going to do actually is go back to the hot sex date, and just tell you about that.
Yeah.
Because when you're learning new skills together, it's not really the same as your lovemaking date. You're actually trying a new thing, and so those you can schedule. And if you have your little list of the things you want to learn how to do together, then you'll be like, oh, okay, on Thursday night, we're going to find my G-spot, or whatever it might be. And that can be
cook dinner,
really fun.
put the kids to
looking
bed.
good, I think.
G-spot. I love it.
I love it. Well, what do we... This
So
is dropping on a
good.
Monday. Got 4 days to wait to find my G-spot.
Okay, so we'll make that. I love. Okay,
Love
got
that.
that. Your next one.
But that's different
that. Love
than a hot sex date. So
Yeah.
I'll tell you an example of a hot sex date. And I'm just remembering the last sex I had. This is what I did on Sunday.
Oh.
That was the last time I made love, and this is what I
bragging,
did.
will you?
getting
Oh God,
carried
you don't
away.
even want to know my bragging.
Yeah, we do want to know.
Yeah. So hit us with it. Go on. We're all ears.
So first thing we did was we set up the love nest. And we laid down our waterproof bedding, and we got out all of my lubes that I love. And
I shouldn't laugh
my
'cause
sex
it's fabulous.
toys
Yeah.
are there.
Yeah.
And I have a stack of soft towels. And the sunlight was streaming in the room because I'm old and it was an afternoon date because I get tired at night.
Yeah.
And
love
we laid side by side facing each other. And we just held each other and we talked for a few minutes and we connected and we relaxed. And then we started kissing a little bit. And then I have this breast oil.
A
So I'm
what?
the
A what?
spokesperson.
Sorry.
Breast
Boobies.
oil.
A
Boobies.
breast oil. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
I'm in my
So I'm a-
60s too. I can't hear properly.
But she's got the boobies, so there's no problem
Got
there.
the boobies. Got that. Breast oil. Yeah.
So my lover put the oil on my breasts and it really makes your nipples feel so good. And
Woo.
we were kissing and he was playing with my breasts and I put some sex oil on his penis and I was stroking his penis
God,
while he
this
was
is a
playing with
journey.
my boobs and we were making out. And then I had a new toy I wanted to try. And so I stroked him with one hand. I'm very talented. And I used the toy in
We're
the other
multi-skilled,
hand.
us women.
And I used the toy on myself. And it was a toy that was an internal toy. It was called a thruster.
Oh.
And it's this little toy that you can go inside and essentially wake up all of the internal vaginal canal and the tissue on the other side.
They're
of
all
the vaginal
asleep and you wake them
lining.
up. I love this.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It gets it all open and turned on and juicy. It really was very
Yeah,
wet
I'm
sounding.
Feeling a bit juicy myself, I
Oh,
think.
God.
Exactly.
Slider home. So,
And so
okay,
yeah,
he
wow.
was kissing me. And then when I was like really, really turned on and I wanted him to enter me, I wanted him to make love to me, I said, well, let's try that new scissor position. So we
I'm exhausted and
No.
they haven't even done it yet.
We're just warming up.
Wow.
So is all our listeners warming up
and you know
too.
what I also love is she calls him her husband of how many years?
33.
And she calls him her lover.
Yeah, that's
And I think
cool.
that was very cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's your lover.
Yeah. So
Oh, look, don't stop now.
we
You've
wanna
got
go
this
in
going.
deep?
So, yeah. We want a deep dive here.
So then what we did was he
Oh, no, I've got the
really
snores.
has been loving his two favorite sex positions are doggy style where he can watch in the mirror
She's going to lose it.
and
I'm sorry. Why am I laughing? Where were we?
Scissor style.
No, she was on doggy style.
Yeah, and then doggy.
Yeah.
his favorite has been doggy
Yes.
and reverse.
Reverse cowgirl.
Oh my God.
He likes to
Okay.
sit up in
With
bed
a Shania Twain.
and the mirror is in front of us and he
Yeah.
likes to sit up in bed and watch my face in the mirror as I'm moving on top of him.
Oh, cool.
It's very hot because we can both see each other.
Yeah.
And those have been his favorites, but lately we discovered the scissors thing, and his penis has a little curve to it. And so in this certain scissors, because we start out and we're like, okay, am I on my left side or my right side? And I was like, yeah, you're on your right side, and this leg goes over here. And then
Is that curve
he
always
enters
there?
me.
Was that from overuse?
I'm crying, honestly. You know, I believe there's a lot of people listening going, like me, having a bit of a giggle, because that's what life's all about. But ultimately saying, I've never tried that.
Yeah.
I need to do more in my
And it's really good
about
you
my sexual
acknowledging that,
relationship.
saying, your marriage was boring really at this, at the stage. It hit
I
that
love
time.
that.
You've turned it around. It's hot
Yeah.
and spicy, and we haven't even got to the
That's the
end of it.
understatement
I want to
again.
hear how this all
Oh, you want the
tickety
continuing?
boo, how it all ended.
What about all these questions?
No,
we have?
hang on. We're in the middle of a sex act, Di. Let's get one thing finished, then we can
All
move on.
right, let's. Do you know where you were? I
Reverse
think you
cowgirl.
were about to go.
So we did a little reverse cowgirl, then we did the scissoring, and then we did some doggy, and then we did some missionary. So it was really fun because we did 4 different sex positions and we just took our time. But the nice thing is that I learned how to have orgasms from intercourse in my 40s, and they've been getting better and better and better, so that pretty much the whole time that we're making love, that we're having intercourse and making love, I'm having orgasms. But it really helps me to start with the relaxation, the kissing, the breast play, and then some vaginal stimulation and clitoral stimulation. And starting with a toy is a great way to get things going, and having a bunch of orgasms first before you're penetrated. Because one of the things that I've learned, and I'll finish up by saying this, I've been a sexpert for 2 decades, and I've written 44 books and programs on hot sex techniques. That's what I do. I don't sit in an office and solve people's sex problems. I write hot sex techniques. That's what I do. For partners who want passionate lovemaking. The antidote to pornography. The antidote to just stick it in and we're done, right? I'm the opposite of those things. And one of the things that I keep teaching all the time is that we ladies have as much erectile tissue in our vulva as our male-bodied partners do in their penis. But it takes us 20 minutes at least to get the blood flow in. That only takes him 2 minutes because he's got like a straight shot.
Yes.
So he's got fast-acting hemodynamics or blood flow. And so when we're rushed to intercourse, no wonder we don't enjoy sex.
And
No
might I
wonder we're not
add,
having
Susan, on that
orgasms.
note, thinking of a woman that's got young children,
Yep.
she's worked all day, she's caring for her parents, she's anxious about not being able to have sex because she's so tired. She hasn't had communication with her partner because she's so exhausted all the time. Would you recommend something like this? Let's reserve an amount of time for a hot sex date, or would you have any other suggestions under those circumstances?
The time of raising your children is the most difficult time to work on your sex life because you are pulled in so many directions. I just promise you that they eventually will grow up and you'll have more time. But what I recommend, especially for busy mothers, is something called yoni massage. Do you know what that is?
I was actually
Dear
looking at,
listeners?
because
Can you
I've
tell
always
us more
I've
about
known
yoni?
about tantric sex, and I thought it was something like
It
that.
sounds pretty good. Can you explain what yoni massage
Yeah.
is, please?
Yes. So yoni is a tantric lovemaking word, and tantric sex is really slow, heart-connected, very present, and you can have ecstatic bliss together.
Wow.
That's what tantric is. And really what I teach is kind of the sexy version of that. And yoni, Y-O-N-I, is the tantric lovemaking word for the female genital system. All of the spongy tissue in our vulva, our vagina, our G-spot, our A-spot, our cervix, our clitoris, our perineum, it's our labia, everything. It's that whole thing is the yoni. And it's a very reverential word for our genital system. And so I like it better than vulva or vagina. Because the vulva is the outside, the vagina is the inside. So I like the yoni. And a yoni massage is basically a genital massage, and you use some beautiful oil, and you have your husband just give you a massage, and you learn good techniques for it over time. And he gets, some men are very good with their hands right away. They're very good. They're very dexterous. And other men are a little more ham-fisted and they need a little extra practice. But all guys can learn how to give us a yoni massage. And so if they hold us first,
and
they
that's
give us
important,
some
isn't it?
kisses.
Being held.
Yes.
Yeah, you
We
talk
need to
about
be
that a lot.
held.
Yeah.
We do, because we are the prey, not the predator. And we are estrogen dominant, which makes us feel unsafe because we always are looking around for the danger. And so we need to be held to generate the oxytocin, to lower our cortisol, to calm us down, to get us out of our head and into our bodies. Where men, they're so single focused. We are looking at everything. We're the multitaskers. And generally men are full speed ahead. I've got an erection. Let's have intercourse. I'm ready to ejaculate. And so they need to be slowed down. So holding us helps them. And then kissing is the beginning of getting the blood flow to the genitals. And then breast play takes it up a notch to the next level, because your nipples, your lips, and your yoni are one system, a locked system that works in
That's
concert.
interesting, isn't it? Sort of saying that they are. Because, I always think, it starts with a kiss. And, and it does,
Starts with a kiss.
Yeah, the kiss will start with a song. Those things. To me, it does start with a kiss. And there's, it's a beautiful kiss. And I guess then one thing can lead to another. But it is like the start of a turn on.
I agree.
And a good kiss or a bad kiss, can
and
change
even if it's
things.
just lips, and then
But it's such do you know what, Susan? I think it's such a refreshing
lips,
thing hearing you say that, and, especially sometimes even some of our older listeners now too, and some of them now, their marriage is over, they're done and dusted, and we've got girlfriends who said, you know what, I've shut up shop, I'm not interested in blokes now, you know what, I've done it, I'm
and
very
to each
happy.
his own,
Absolutely. But what do you say are the benefits to maybe reignite that? Is there a reason, do you say, well, maybe have another open opinion going, maybe you can start again, or what would you say?
a massage. I love it.
Yeah, you can always start again. And
A lot of women sometimes can lose their confidence.
Absolutely. I think that's a big one.
They're
too.
older
Yeah.
and they've been with
And
the one partner forever.
Exactly.
And it's scary to go out there again.
True. Very
to
much
take
so.
the plunge, so to speak.
if you are willing to try, first of all, men think we're beautiful, so don't be so hard on yourself. That judging that you have about being old or your body not being perfect is your estrogen being judgy to keep you safe.
Right.
But if you find someone that you find attractive, that you'd like to be intimate with, you can go at a very slow pace and warm everything back up again over many months, if that's what it takes for you to feel like you would be ready. You never have to do anything you don't want to do. You are always encouraged to establish your boundaries. I'm willing to do these things, but not these things. And any person who is a person of integrity would hold to those boundaries. And so don't think that I'm done with sex because I'm done with intercourse.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that's a good thing to say to people.
It really, people it's like an all or nothing.
Yes.
Instead of just let's try something.
That's why I love when she was just talking about massage for someone that's tired and exhausted, and there's the sex life in the relationship's just sort of like put on the back burner, or it's the elephant in the room. I love the fact that Susan talked about just start gently. It doesn't have to be sex.
Yes,
it can be a massage.
Intercourse does not have to be
and you
intercourse.
Said hug.
A hug is a good thing.
Hug.
And also, I'm really all
So
for
important.
it too. That here you are.
All for what, Nick?
We're
What
all,
are you
we're
all
all
for?
we're all women now, and Di loves it because I've just turned 60, and I just say it's the happiest day of our life because I finally joined the 60 club. And as Kathy
Good.
Leck said,
You
it's
look gorgeous.
sexy, and I'm feeling hot and sexy as ever, which is great. But
There you go. She said it.
Yeah, but you know what? That's what I actually love now is that I think you can get more confidence as you age. You don't have to be in your 20s or 30s. And then look at you, you're a sexpert, you're in your 60s. And how do you feel being a woman in your 60s?
I feel sexier than ever.
Wow,
that's great.
Wow.
Why? Why
I
is
have
that?
better orgasms. I'm more sexually satisfied. I'm more confident. I'm more vibrant. My sexuality fuels my creativity, my passion, my sense of self. It's a joy. It's a relaxation. It extends my health span. It's making me look younger, feel younger. All of the different sex positions, that's my yoga. I don't go to yoga class.
You're
I
an
ride my bike.
inspiration.
You really are.
You know why?
Yeah.
Because we're living longer. And I think like what Nicola was just saying, we have heard from girlfriends like, well, I'm older now and that's almost like, let's park that. Where I'm listening to you and there's women listening right now and they're like 50s, 60s, 70s going, oh, really? Like turn that light on, flick the switch. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I think it's really good, and for all women then, and it's great at any age to enjoy sex, but it's wonderful to know that as you age, it actually can get better and better.
It gets better.
And
do you think
better.
a lot of it's mind over matter?
Well, sex is a mindfulness practice. The only way that you can get into a bliss state of orgasmic ecstasy is to get out of your head and into your body. And every time you slip back and you start thinking about something else, you bring yourself back to the pleasure. And over time, you learn how to stay in that theta brainwave state. And you learn how to stay in the big sensation of pleasure. And then you learn how to expand that big sensation so that you feel even more and more pleasure.
Because you mentioned trauma before, how that used to come into play, maybe subconsciously, I don't know. And I think there's a lot of people out there that have past issues that come into play subconsciously, and that interferes with their sex life. I believe that. Like, we just heard your story, which was remarkable. I mean, there's a huge percentage of people out there that their minds and their thoughts and their past hold back their enjoyment with sex. So is there any sort of starting point you could suggest to someone out there who believes that actually, is part of their journey, their sexual journey?
Yes. So there's a couple of things. The first is that almost no one's escaped without trauma. Our society, our culture, everything is very traumatizing sexually. And therapists are always available, and sexologists and therapists are wonderful, but generally most couples work through those traumas together and come out whole because they're focused on it. But about 20% of the population who's been traumatized or betrayed cannot work through it themselves. They need professional support. And it's partly because of their genetics, their serotonin pathways, for example, where they just keep reliving the trauma and the wound just stays fresh. I'll give you an example. Have you ever met anyone who loves to tell the same stories over and over and over again?
I think we all know people like that, don't we?
You mean? Yep.
Yes.
That drives me crazy. Yeah. I like to plow fresh ground. My husband and my daughter will tell each other the same stories over and over and over. They have this experience that it relives the moment for them. Well, that same pathway relives trauma moments. And if you are a person who can't get over betrayal, you can't move through bitterness, you can't work your anger, you can't work your traumas, you must get professional help, because they will teach you the techniques to get through that so it doesn't have its grip on you. For all the other 80% of people, it's just taking step by step by step and being willing to learn and to open and to go through to a pleasurable experience.
Susan, thank you for that. I think that's really wise words. And I think, people nowadays, there's no shame to going to therapy. It's one of those things we're actually impressed by people who go to therapy. And if it can help people, and, most of us can always, we're students of life and can learn. And I think, thank you for sort of saying that.
A sex therapist or a counsellor?
It really depends on what it is. If it's sexual trauma, you should go to a sexologist.
But is it sexual trauma
therapist.
from some trauma in the past that can be a variety of different things? Like
no, it would be sexual trauma. So you would have been sexually abused.
Yeah, and I think you can also
or you would have had shame,
Yeah.
or you would have had religious repression.
Yes.
There would have been any number of those. And for many people, we don't get through life without multiple of those things happening.
And you know what? It's interesting for someone listening who's going, oh, that's me, or I'm alone, I'm the only one. Esther Perel, who we've all heard of, she gets people in the audience when she's talking to hold up their phone, the lights on their phone, if anyone's had any trauma in their life and how that's affecting them sexually. 3/4 of the people in the room hold up their phones.
Yeah.
And it's like, so you're not alone.
No.
Don't think you're alone.
Well, you're in the norm. I think, as Susan said, nearly everybody has in
Exactly.
some way.
Exactly.
And I think it's a really great way of moving forward too, because we've all had betrayal, or we've all had different things there, and we can cling on to bitterness or disappointment or heartbreak or things like that. It hasn't turned out the way we want it to. You can cling on to that. Or you can go, well, hey, it's a fresh new start. You've got a new opportunity. And on that note, with some people who always go, that new partner, it's just the most exciting sex of all. But then they have to go from one partner to the next to try and get that first sort of like honeymoon period. What's that about? Or, what do you think about that, Susan?
Remember when I talked about how desire is a combination of novelty and variety and safety? Mm-hmm. So the trust and safety. Well, some people are very novelty oriented.
Right.
And they want new things all the time.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of those people tend to be they'll try kink or BDSM or things like that, where other people don't need that so much. Part of it's that, and then part of it is the new relationship energy hormones. So you're getting a lot of serotonin, you're getting dopamine hits, you're getting oxytocin hits, and over time, because the novelty wears off, those hormones wear off, you don't feel that same sexual excitement. The third thing is that most people don't proactively, and thank goodness for you if you're listening to us right now, because you are one of the rare people who can sit through the experience of realizing that there's a lot you can learn in your sexuality, and you're open to learning things like my desire dozen, right? Oh, okay, there's 12 areas I could work on. That's good to know. Which one do I want to start with, right? And when you begin to learn new things, the variety stays fresh even with an existing partner. So the people who, they have that, that 4-month itch or that 7-year itch or whatever it might be, they have about 3 skills and they've used those
and they have to move on to the next person.
They've got to go get a new person because they don't know what the hell they're doing.
So it was robotic almost.
And sometimes I think maybe they don't want to go in deep and to try different areas,
because something's holding them back from exploring
but that's
just get a new thing. And that's probably shame. What's holding them back is either...
See, that's fascinating.
That is fascinating. Well, what's a quick communication tip or tool? Because, it's sort of like, honey, I've done the dishes or something.
Yeah, and how vital it is.
But what's some really good communication things that can really get things going?
So it's interesting when you think about bedroom communication, because it's like a ladder. And if you skip the bottom rung, all the rest of the stuff doesn't work as well. So I like to start with what's the first step in learning how to be a good communicator in the bedroom. And it's something that I call my sexual soulmate pact, PACT, like an agreement between lovers. And I think it is the foundation of all good sex. So I'm giving you my number one sex technique, which is a communication skill. And basically, it gets over this issue of a couple of things. Number one, I don't know what I want. I just know what I'm getting isn't it. Yes. So I'll just keep my mouth shut and suck it up, because I can't tell them what to do. I just don't really like what's going on, but I'll take it. I'll just take the, like the crumbs. That's number one. Number two is, don't tell me what to do. I already know what I'm doing. You don't need to tell me what to do. I'm already good.
Ego and
right. So that is the other problem. So it gets around that. And it also creates a level playing field where you can begin to talk about anything behind closed doors. You can begin to divulge your fantasies. You can begin to share favorite moments. You can begin to work on your moaning and your screaming and be loud.
I'll take my scarf off now, I think.
Ooh, good.
You're going to be dressed like Susan.
The jacket off soon. I'm listening to every word.
Yeah.
So there's dirty talk, pillow talk, sensual talk, sharing frames. There's all kinds of things. But if you try to do all of those things without being able to comfortably know what you want and ask for it, so a big part of what you have to learn is something called interoception, which is one of your senses. Sex is sensual. You look at your beautiful lover, you smell their fragrance, you hear their moans, you taste their tongue and mouth.
I feel like I'm
it's
reading a novel.
Oh,
Wow.
it's so good.
But interoception is a sense as well. And that is, how's your body feeling? And so the people who think I don't know what I want, what they have to learn is to listen to their yoni. She has lips too, remember?
Wow,
but she
I like
can't
that.
speak.
She has lips.
You use your upper lips
Yep.
to speak for your lower lips.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
tell your lover
So
what
there you
she's
go.
telling you.
Therein lies the communication. I love
And
that.
then what's an easy way of doing it?
Great.
Because, sometimes you're just sort of saying they've got all those preconceptions there and you still might feel, isn't it weird? They can still feel a bit embarrassed or shy to actually state it.
Right.
Is there
Well,
an
so there's
easy
two
way?
things.
Yeah.
The easiest way is to download the technique and read it together. Print out
Okay.
2 copies. Give your husband some homework.
I think most guys would love this.
Yeah.
Truly.
And
so,
then-
honey, I've got
Really
some
do.
homework for you.
You're going to enhance your sexual relationship.
Wow.
So that
Well, we are
let's
going
do
to
it.
put that. Thank you. We're going to put that on our show notes, obviously, all your
Yeah,
your
heaps.
goodies.
Amazing.
You know what, we
You're
could talk to
incredible.
you forever,
True.
and we'd love to have you
Yeah.
back. And listeners,
love to
can
come
you
back
write
anytime.
in or
Yeah.
DM us or message us any questions? Because I'm sure there's
Yeah.
a hell of a lot after that.
Yeah.
But we've got our signature questions because we got to get going. What do you think, Dadi? Do you want to shoot?
If you had the opportunity of meeting anyone over the back fence, Susan, anybody, what would you chat about and why?
Who would it be?
And who would that be?
I'd like to meet some of the pre-Christian sex goddesses who worked in the temples of Eros
Of
to
course.
find out what the traditional sexual practices were.
Hallelujah! I'd like to
Before
join that
religion
one too.
ruined them.
Wouldn't you, Di? Like
That-
to
that-
hang
that-
there and see what
that's
they talk about.
So fabulously out there. I love it.
That's all. We've never had that answer before,
Never.
have we?
No.
That's a great one. And now,
Of
Susan,
course.
if you could give advice to your 20-year-old self, what would it be?
It would be to learn the sexual soulmate pact and have really clear communication with many lovers, and to always get STI tested every 6 months or more, and to have sex with a number of people and create more experiences. And always have your boundaries and always state them, and keep yourself as a sovereign being and enjoy and take and create your pleasure.
Hallelujah.
Wow.
That is
Wow.
beautiful.
That
That
was
is so
magnificent.
good. That really
Yeah.
was. And having your
Yeah.
boundaries is a good thing.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah,
because
it's like, you know what, I just wanted to say to Susan is thank you for what you're doing.
yes.
Because forever and a day, sex has been taboo, and I'll close the door on that one. And we taste food, we hear, we see, we breathe. Sex is part of we're a mammal. We crave it. Why? It's normal. But, oh, no, don't talk about that. You're one of those people bringing out into our society and normalizing it's okay. And for me, that was brought up a Catholic.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Seriously,
But that's true
I've really
Yeah.
turned my life around, and
Good.
if you're listening and something's triggered for you, go and do something
Yeah,
about
get some
it
help there.
because it's
and
a
sex
joy.
gets better, guys, as we age too. So that's a really good thing. We're all about kicking ass at every age, and you're a
it
role
up.
model. You're an inspiration,
yeah, you
Susan. So
are.
thank you for joining us at the back fence, and everybody, thank
You're
you for
amazing.
listening. Tune in.
Yes.
Don't forget to rate and review, and we like the 5 stars, in our potty. And Didi, how many stars
With
should we give
Susan,
our Sexpert?
I think
Come on.
500,000 out of
Woo! You
Yeah,
win. You
seriously.
win 500,000.
You've got the top. Look at those boobies shaking.
Oh, those shake it. Come on, Didi. Let's shake the boobies here.
Oh my God, I love it.
Ciao, ciao.
Thanks.
Bye.